47 seconds. That is the number I haven't been able to get out of my head all week. According to research from the University of California, Irvine, that is the average amount of time we now focus on a single screen before our attention breaks. 47 seconds. If you're feeling scattered, if you feel like your brain has turned into a browser with 100 tabs open and music playing from somewhere you can't find, you are not broken. You are just living in a world designed to fracture your focus.
And the scary part, Chloe, is that 47 seconds is just the average. For many people, it's even less. We are living through what I call an epoch of cognitive fragmentation. We aren't just distracted, we are being systematically trained to be distracted.
It feels that way. It feels like we're losing the ability to just sit. Today, we are tackling a topic that was requested by a listener who sent in a really moving note about feeling grounded in nothing while being distracted by everything. We're talking about taking back control of our mental health in a high-velocity world. To help us break this down, I'm joined by a behavioral researcher who specializes in the intersection of technology and well-being. It's good to have you back.
It's great to be here. And honestly, this topic is the one keeping me up at night lately.
So let's start with that 47-second statistic, because it sounds terrified. I remember reading that back in 2004, the average attention span on a screen was something like 2.5 minutes, which, to be fair, doesn't sound great either, but it's a marathon compared to 47 seconds.
Right. That data comes from Dr. Gloria Mark, who has been tracking this for decades. And you have to understand the cost of that switching. It's not just that you look away for a second. There is something called the switch cost. When you get interrupted, whether it's a Slack notification, a text, or just your own impulse to check the weather, it takes your brain an average of 23 minutes and 15 seconds to get back to the same level of deep focus you had before.
23 minutes. So if I check my email 3 times an hour, I am mathematically never in deep focus.
Exactly, you are permanently skimming the surface of your own intelligence. And this leads to a state that the tech writer Linda Stone coined years ago called continuous partial attention. It's distinct from multitasking. Multitasking is trying to do 2 things at once to be productive. Continuous partial attention is an always-on high-alert radar where you are constantly scanning the periphery for opportunities, threats, or connection.
Scanning for threats. That's an interesting way to put it, because the listener who wrote in mentioned that the world feels louder and more negative than ever. Is that why the bad news hits us so hard? Because we're in this hyper-alert scanning mode?
That is a huge part of it. You have to remember that your brain hasn't had a software update in about 10,000 years. We are running Paleolithic hardware in a digital world. Our brains have a built-in negativity bias. In the wild, noticing a tiger, which is negative, was more important for survival than noticing a pretty flower. So the brain prioritizes threat detection.
So when I open Twitter or X or whatever, and I see 5 headlines about war, economic collapse, and a scandal, my brain is treating those like tigers.
Precisely, and the algorithms know this. They are optimized for engagement, and nothing engages the human brain faster than fear and outrage. So you have a cycle. Your brain scans for danger, the algorithm feeds you danger, your cortisol spikes, and you feel compelled to keep scrolling to survive the threat. It is an exhaustion machine.
It's the doom scroll, and it makes you feel like you're informed, right? Like, I need to know this to be a responsible citizen. But you're arguing that it's actually damaging our capacity to function.
There is a fine line between being informed and being inundated. The futurist Alvin Toffler predicted this back in 1970 in his book Future Shock. He warned that information overload would eventually lead to severe physical and mental disturbances. He saw it coming before the internet even existed. When the mind is pulled in 1,000 directions, it cannot repair itself.
So let's pivot to the repair. The listener laid out 3 pillars that have helped them: prayer, meditation, and fitness. I want to walk through these, not just as good habits, but I want you to explain what is actually happening in the brain when we do them. Let's start with the body. Fitness. We know it's good for our heart, but why is it essential for mental health?
Because we often try to solve mental problems with only mental tools, forgetting that the brain is a biological organ. When you exercise, specifically when you get your heart rate up, your body releases a protein called BDNF, or brain-derived neurotrophic factor.
I've heard this described as miracle grow for the brain.
That's the classic analogy, and it's accurate. BDNF literally encourages the growth of new neurons and strengthens the connections between existing ones. In a distracted world, your neural pathways are fraying. Exercise is the repair crew. It also metabolizes stress hormones. If you are sitting still and stressed, that cortisol just sits in your system. eating away at your tissue. Movement flushes it out.
So it's not just about getting abs or losing weight, it's about chemical regulation.
It is the most effective, underutilized anti-anxiety intervention we have. If you are mentally fragile, you cannot afford to be sedentary.
Okay, let's move to the second pillar, meditation. This is often grouped with prayer, but I know there are distinct neurological differences. What happens when we meditate?
Meditation is primarily about attention regulation. When you are not doing anything, when you're just daydreaming or worrying, your brain enters what's called the default mode network, or DMN. This is the circuit responsible for mind wandering, self-reference, and often rumination. Why did I say that? What if I fail?
The 3 a.m. panic spiral.
Exactly. That is the default mode network running wild. Meditation, particularly mindfulness, trains the brain to quiet the DMN. You are practicing the art of noticing when your mind wanders and bringing it back. It is push-ups for your prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain that controls focus and emotion. It literally thickens the gray matter in that area.
Now, the listener specifically mentioned prayer as distinct from meditation. They called it strength for the soul. Is there a scientific difference? Because to a skeptic, sitting in silence and sitting in prayer might look like the same activity.
This is where it gets fascinating. Dr. Andrew Newberg is a pioneer in a field called neurotheology. He has done brain scans of Franciscan nuns praying and Buddhist monks meditating. And while both practices calm the brain, prayer does something else. It activates the social circuitry.
The social circuitry? Like the part of my brain I use when I'm talking to a friend?
Yes, because for a believer, prayer is relational. You aren't just emptying your mind, you are communicating with a being you believe is listening. Newberg found that this engages the theory of mind areas, the parts of the brain that help us understand others' intentions and feel connection. So prayer offers the calming benefits of meditation, but it adds a layer of relationship. It combats loneliness in a way that pure mindfulness might not.
That makes so much sense regarding what the listener said about releasing what you can't control. If you feel like you're handing a burden to someone else, someone capable of handling it, that has to change the physiological stress response.
It absolutely does. It shifts the burden of executive function. If you believe you are solely responsible for the outcome of the universe, your stress levels will be toxic. If you believe there is a higher power carrying that with you, the brain can actually stand down from high alert. It's a safety signal.
I love that distinction. Meditation is about presence. Prayer is about connection. And both of them seem to be the antidote to that continuous partial attention scanning we talked about earlier.
They are the opposite of scanning. They are anchoring.
So we have the diagnosis. Our attention is fractured. We have the holistic solution: movement, stillness, and connection. But I want to get practical before we go. We can't just all move to a monastery. We have jobs. We have emails. How do we apply this in a normal Tuesday?
You have to guard the bookends of your day. The most damaging thing you can do, and I know everyone does this, is roll over in bed and immediately check your phone.
Guilty. It's my alarm clock.
Buy an alarm clock, a real one. When you check your phone first thing, you are inviting the entire world, every tragedy, every demand, every email, into your bedroom before you have even brushed your teeth. You are priming your brain for reactivity, not proactivity. If you can reclaim just the first 30 minutes of your day for something grounded, prayer, a workout, even just drinking coffee without a screen, you set a completely different neural trajectory for the next 12 hours.
It's about protecting your input.
And guarding your output. We need to stop believing the myth of multitasking. It doesn't exist. It's just rapid task switching, and it makes us stupider. Pick one thing, do it for 20 minutes, then stop. Monotasking is the new superpower.
Monotasking. It sounds so simple, yet it feels like a radical act of rebellion today.
It is rebellion. Choosing peace in a chaos economy is a rebellious act. But as our listener said, you aren't weak for feeling overwhelmed. The system is designed to overwhelm you. You just have to design a better system for yourself.
That is a powerful place to leave it. We often think mental health is something we just have, but today has really shown me it's something we have to build, brick by brick, habit by habit. Prayer, meditation, fitness, these aren't chores. They're the armor we need to wear if we're going to survive the noise.
Well said. The world isn't going to get quieter, so we have to get stronger.
Thank you so much for breaking this down with us today. It's given me a lot to think about, and hopefully a reason to put my phone in the other room tonight. And to everyone listening, if you found value in this conversation, please send this episode to one friend who needs to hear it. We all know someone who is feeling the weight of the world right now.